Is eating before bed a bad idea? Today, let's find out. Before we dive in, if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe. All right, you guys, I'm excited to discuss today the hot topic of is eating before you go to bed a bad idea? You know, I actually just had a client ask me this question, which kind of provoked me to record a podcast about this topic. But I also know a lot of people are hearing a lot that eating before you go to bed is a really bad idea. And so I want to talk about some things that are true, some things that aren't true, and also talk about how everything requires context. Before I do, I want to make sure I let you guys know about the new workshop we're doing called the Nutrition Mastery Workshop. The Fat Loss Forever workshop that we do is Nutrition 1.0. The Nutrition Mastery workshop is Nutrition 2.0. This is basically if you have set a pretty good foundation and you've kind of, for the most part, mastered the basics of nutrition, how can you take things to the next level? What are some more optimal habits, eating habits that allow your brain health to be optimized, that your gut health can be optimized, so on and so forth. And so I'm really excited to help you have a methodical approach that you can follow to enhance all of those things. So go to nickcarrier.com/mastery to sign up today. It's going to be Monday, March 24th at 5 p.m. Central Time. Again, nickcarrier.com/mastery to sign up today. Okay, let's dive into the topic of is eating right before you go to bed a bad idea? Now, generally speaking, what I've learned is that there's not really definitive science on nutrient timing. As far as nutrient timing goes, the main thing that you want to follow as you go throughout your day is, can you have meals that are always similar size and 3, 4, or 5 meals a day? Each of those has about the same number of calories, around the same number of calories, roughly, and around the same number of grams of protein, roughly. That's going to be optimal from a body composition standpoint. That's going to be optimal from an energy level standpoint. That is, for the most part, the synopsis of the science with regards to how we should approach nutrient timing. Can we have meals across the day that are spread evenly, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 hours apart, that are about the same size and have roughly the same number of grams of protein? That might be 20 grams of protein. Some meals that might be 50. Maybe ideally it's probably closer to 25 grams each meal, 30 grams each meal, 40 grams each meal, 50 grams each meal, obviously depending on your body size and your goals and whatnot. But those are the two things that are most important when it comes to nutrient timing. As far as are carbs better or fats better? That's a whole conversation for a different story. But also from a nutrient timing standpoint, are carbs bad to eat before you go to bed? Are they best in the morning or are they worst in the morning because they're going to cause a sugar crash? Not too much science will definitively say which one is better or worse. Some people experience great energy if they have carbs in the morning. Some people experience a greater crash if they have carbs in the morning. Some people, if they overload too much on carbs at night, they can't sleep very well. Some people, if they have a lot of carbs at night, they sleep great. And so everything is contextual and you need to figure out what works for you. Before I dive into, I'm going to dive into a few specific options though for how you can approach eating before bedtime. So stick around for those 3 options. Then those 3 options are not in ranking order. They're not in a hierarchy order. They're just 3 different options that you can select from to figure out really what works best for you. But know that right now, if you're listening to this episode and you're already sleeping well, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about changing things up, because if you're already sleeping well, then what you're doing regularly is obviously working. And so I also want to make sure that we're not picking up pennies when we should be searching for $100 bills. You know, when I say searching for $100 bills, that means like the things that really move the needle, the things that are the most important when it comes to nutrition. And that's making sure that you're managing the calories, the overall number of calories that you're intaking. You're making sure that you're getting enough protein. You're making sure that you're getting enough fiber. And those 3 things are the big levers. Those 3 things are the big drivers with regards to your body composition, in regards to your energy levels, and your longevity. And so if those 3 things are not on and you're worried about should I eat 30 minutes before I go to bed, an hour before I go to bed, 3 hours before I go to bed? Like, you're searching for pennies instead of picking up $100 bills. You have to almost have a prerequisite of having those three foundations laid before you even start worrying about when you should be eating in relationship to when you're going to bed, for the most part. Now, I'm going to dive into the 3 different options. Option 1 to how you can approach eating before going to bed is eat minimally 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. Now, generally, if you did this approach, you want to make sure this meal has adequate protein, just like every other meal. And depending on your body size, that could be 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 grams of protein in that meal. And one of the reasons why that's so important is because you want to make sure that you keep protein, or amino acids more in particular, flowing through the bloodstream, going to your muscles throughout most of the night for your recovery, and so that you can maintain your muscle mass. And this is also good for people who struggle to sleep with a full stomach. So if you struggle to sleep with a full stomach, this might be a good idea for you to eat 2 to 3 hours before going to bed, and making sure that meal is just a relatively normal sized meal with adequate protein intake. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is to not even really worry about it and eat normally. What that means would just be, if you go to bed at, say, 10 o'clock, then have your normal meal at 7:30, 8, 8:30, maybe 9. If you have a normal meal about 1 to 2 hours before going to bed, for most people, that's going to be completely fine. And your sleep is not going to be inhibited by having a normal meal 1 to 2 hours before going to bed. So before I go into option number 3, I think the biggest way that people throw themselves off with regards to eating before going to bed is they might have that normal meal 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours before going to bed. And then 20 to 30 minutes before going to bed, they have some ice cream, or they have something that's super sugary. And that might wake them up a little bit. And that might disturb their sleep and their digestion a little bit. And so if you're that type of person who has your normal meal 1 to 2 hours before going to bed, and then you have something that's super sugary right before going to bed, and you actually see that it's inhibiting your sleep, then I would stop eating that sugary thing right before you go to bed. Now, if you're having that sugary thing and you're still sleeping fine, then maybe that's not inhibiting your sleep. Maybe that's just impacting your health and fitness goals and your body composition goals. So maybe you should stop it for that reason. But if it's not inhibiting your sleep, then it's not inhibiting your sleep. So stop overanalyzing the situation. And then option number 3 is that for some people, eating a good amount of carbs before going to bed, in like 30 to 60 minutes before going to bed, can actually calm you down and make you sleep even better. Oftentimes, if we have carbs, it helps your body relax. It helps your body get into a parasympathetic state. It helps your nervous system transition into a parasympathetic state, that rest and digest state, rather than the fight and flight state. And so I would analyze these options and attempt maybe each of them and see what works best for you. Again, if you're listening to this podcast and you're already sleeping fine with the way that you're currently handling eating prior to bedtime, then don't worry about it. Don't change what you're doing. Keep what you're doing. If you feel like your sleep is negatively impacted by how you're eating before you go to bed, then you look at these 3 options and you think, okay, which one do I want to try first? And then try that for about a week. Try that for about a week and a half and see how it goes. Because sleep can always change up from one night to another based off of a lot of different factors, not just what you eat. It could be what you watched before you go to bed. It could be your activity levels. It could be what's going on with your career. It could be what's going on with your relationships. So you want to try one of these options for at least a week to give it a try to see how your fueling impacts or inhibits your sleep in a positive or negative manner. So if you're somebody who you feel like your sleep is negatively impacting, or your eating is negatively impacting your sleep, pick one of these 3 options, apply it for at least a week. If it works, great, stick with it. If it doesn't work, great, switch it up, go with something else, because it is highly personal to what works best for you. Now, again, before I kind of have the closing remarks, I want to remind you to join the Nutrition Mastery Workshop on March 24th, Monday, March 24th at 5 p.m. If you go to nickcarrier.com/mastery, you can sign up for it. This is a methodical approach that's designed to improve your gut health, your immune system, your longevity, your brain function, your energy levels, and more. Again, this mastery workshop is for people who already have a good foundation with their nutrition. They're eating mainly real foods about 80% of the time. They're, for the most part, already getting in enough protein and fiber. But these are the people who really want to take it to another level, who really want to find ways to optimize their brain function, who want to really optimize their longevity as they get older. So if that's you, then go to nickcarrier.com/mastery and sign up today. Would love to be able to teach you some of these next level steps and next level approaches that you can start to implement. The way that I want to finish today is that for most of you guys listening, I guarantee you that eating before you go to bed is not the biggest thing holding you back. If your goal is to lose body fat, build muscle, or improve your energy or improve your performance, the timing of your last meal before you go to bed is not what's holding you back. I can almost guarantee you that. Now, look, if you're having a massive meal right before you go to bed and you feel really full and you don't sleep well and you do that regularly day after day, then yeah, of course, that it is probably holding you back and you need to change it up. But it's very personal to you. You need to figure out what works best for you. And generally, if you eat too close to bedtime, then it might affect your body's ability to rest and digest, because then you're focused on digesting the food when you're sleeping rather than actually restoring your system. And so that's one of the big reasons why a lot of people think that I should not be eating right before I go to bed. But again, that's highly personal to you. For some people, that's going to be more true than others. And I want to finish with the way that I currently live out my current day-to-day life. Some of you guys know I go to bed about 7:30. And for me to eat 3 hours before I go to bed, I would have to eat dinner at 4:30, and that ain't happening. And so I usually eat dinner around 5:30. Give or take. And so if I eat dinner at 5:30, that means I might finish around 6 or so. And then I usually always have kind of a small healthy dessert around 6:30, give or take. And so that I might have my last bite at, let's say, 6:45. Could be 7 some nights. And if I'm going to bed at 7:30, then that means I ate 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour before going to bed. But right now, my sleep is so good. I get good quantity sleep. The quality of my sleep is really good. I always check my sleep score on my Garmin. I still am getting good REM sleep, good deep sleep, and everything like that. And so for me, practically, I can't eat 3 hours before bed. And from a results standpoint, even if I do eat 30 to 45 minutes before going to bed, I'm still getting good sleep. Again, don't overanalyze the situation. If you're already getting good sleep, great. Keep doing what you're doing. If you're stuffing your face right before you're going to bed and you're not getting good sleep, well, boom, stop doing that and take one of these approaches. But if you're not making progress, I guarantee you this is probably not the reason. It's probably because you're not being consistent. You need to get better protein intake, or you need to stop eating like crazy on the weekends, or maybe you need to stop snacking, or maybe you need to stop having excessive amounts of alcohol. If you're struggling with your body fat goals, your muscle gain goals, it's probably one of those things. It's probably not whether or not you're eating a little too close to your bedtime. I hope today helps you. Now, one of the things I would recommend you do is watch this video next. I want you to watch the podcast that we did a few months ago called The Perfect Wind Down Routine to Get Better Sleep. The perfect wind down routine to get better sleep. This will help you get better quantity sleep. It'll help you to fall asleep faster. It'll help you to get better REM sleep and deep sleep, because you want REM sleep and deep sleep to be around 15% of the total quantity of sleep that you get on a nightly basis, because it's not just about getting 8 hours or 7 hours. It's about making sure you get good quality too. So it's not just quantity, but quality as well. So watch this episode on the perfect wind down routine to get better sleep next. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope this episode helps you get closer to your health and fitness goals. And ultimately, I hope it helps you get closer and closer to your best you.